My stepdad kicked me out. Hello, guys. My name's Andy, and my stepdad can't stand me. It all started when my father passed away 10 years ago. At the time, I was in middle school. When my father died, my mom got seriously depressed, as expected since she's deeply in love with him. Nonetheless, she decided to bring me up by herself. It wasn't until I was 14 years old when she felt encouraged to rebuild her love life. So she met Barry, and they started dating. Barry is not at all like my dad, but according to my mom, he is just as loving and understanding as my father was. When my mom asked me if I was okay with her decision, I told her I was more than okay and that I was pretty happy for her. After a few months of dating, my mom and Barry got married. We moved in with him and his son, Jimmy, who was 10 at the time. At first, I was really happy because Barry was extremely good to my mom, and also me. I'd found a good friend in Jimmy, and I hadn't seen my mom that happy in a long time. But that didn't last long. It all started to change, and sadly, not for the better. At first, my mom changed her habits and likes from my stepdad's. Then she even needed Barry to approve her outfits. Every time he came home angry, somehow it was my mom's fault. Soon enough, and for obvious reasons, Barry and I started arguing. He didn't like my attitude, and if something went wrong in the house, it was my fault. When this situation started, my mom used to be on my side, but after a while, she ended up agreeing with Barry on almost everything. He even accused her of stealing money from him, which of course wasn't true. He said that I was the result of a lousy upbringing. At this point, everyone in the family hated me. Every time Barry attacked me, I tried to defend myself. My mom ended up defending Barry. This happened so frequently that even Jimmy started to see me as the bad guy. Of course, Jimmy was being influenced by Barry and his opinion about me. Things drastically changed for me during a family dinner where my Uncle Howard, my mother's brother, came to join us. That night, Barry lost it and kicked me out of the house. After witnessing this, my uncle offered to take me into his house. He even told me he never really liked Barry and that he thought Barry wasn't a good person. Life at my uncle's was very different. He lived with his wife, my aunt Mary, and their children Jacob and Amanda. Even though they weren't a perfect family, I totally loved it there. And honestly, I didn't want to go back to my stepfather's house. Initially, my mother used to call me daily and visit every weekend. This gradually changed until suddenly, I didn't hear from her anymore. Without a doubt, my mother was being manipulated by this man. Even though I loved her, I can't pretend she's acting okay. A year went by and I got a call. It was my mom. She said, "Andy, I talked to your father and managed to convince him to forgive you for everything you've done and let you come back home." Seriously? Convince him to forgive me for everything I've done? I felt so betrayed and hurt. I told my mother I would never set foot in Barry's house ever again. I waited for my mom to call me back, telling me she'd managed the matter differently. But it never happened. Even my Uncle Howard tried to talk to her about it. Left without a satisfactory answer, I put the matter behind me and moved on with my life. Several years have passed now, and my mother is still with him, living a miserable life as far as I know. At this point, my uncle and his wife have become practically my parents, and my cousins are like my siblings. Many things have changed since then. Now I have a girlfriend. I finished high school. I hadn't thought about Barry or my mom in a while. One day, someone knocked on the door of my no longer so new home. To my surprise, it was Jimmy. He told me he was sorry about how I had been treated by Barry and my mother. He told me he would like for us to be friends again. I got suspicious and I asked him why he had changed his mind. Jimmy told me how Barry's behavior had gotten worse over time. He told me my mother has been nicer to him than his actual mother, to the point of defending him from Barry on numerous occasions. Currently, my relationship with Jimmy has improved. I'm proud of him. He's a brilliant boy and he's excellent at basketball. Jimmy says my mother seems to be exhausted from that whole situation and that it's only a matter of time before she leaves Barry. He confessed he would like us to remain friends and support each other, even if his father and my mother decide to get a divorce. I told him to count on me. After all, Jimmy is not the one to blame in this mess. It still hurts, not being able to be in touch with my mom. But on the other hand, it's nice to have found a new relative in my stepbrother. I hope my mother leaves Barry because I really miss her. What would you guys do in my situation? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.